Duke beat Wake Forest by 30 something last night. They were up as much as 40 with a few minutes left in the game. And, this was the final home game for Duke this season. And I hesitate to call it a senior day just because none of these Duke players are seniors in my mind. I mean, Sion James' senior day, Mason Gillis's final day, but it's not really your traditional like these guys are Duke seniors, right? It was just a final day goodbye to a lot of people. Some of the guys that it theoretically should be a goodbye for are the best players on this Duke team. Cooper Flagg, Con Knippel, Isaiah Evans, and Kamal Mallock are all going to have NBA decisions to make at the end of the year. Certainly Cooper Flagg should leave. He's the number one projected pick in the draft. And Con Knippel and also lottery projected players. It would be pretty stunning if any of those players did not opt to leave at the end of this season for their NBA futures. With that said, Duke fans are going to try. Duke fans visibly, audibly chanting one more year at Cooper Flagg as he was subbed out for the final time this season at home in a Duke uniform. And there was video taken. You can see this on the broadcast. They zoom in on Cooper Flagg, and he's literally looking at someone on the Duke bench. I don't know who, but you can read his lips. He's looking at someone on the Duke bench saying, "Run it back, run it back." As the Duke fans chant one more year, the camera panned to his family. His parents were in attendance, and they were kind of cheekily smiling, a little grin on their face as Duke fans chanted one more year. Dion, your thoughts on all of this?
Uh, no one is a better gaslighter than potential number one picks playing college basketball in the history of the universe. I did see a rumor, like I don't know. I did see a rumor that there is like some potential like outside people that are trying to get Cooper Flag to stay too, like endorsement people are trying to get him to stick around for another year. So maybe there is some legs to it because the only way it makes sense is if someone else pays him the $300 million he would be passing up on in the NBA to stay at Duke. That's the only way it makes sense. Is like if someone's like, "Hey, you're gonna turn down this amount of money to stay, but don't worry, I will give it to you myself if you stay." That's the only way it makes sense. So maybe like with that rumor, you can maybe convince me. It's just not gonna happen though. Like it doesn't. If all things were equal, I think he stays. If all things were equal, I don't think anyone ever goes to the NBA, though. Everyone loves college basketball more than the NBA, top to bottom, right? Secretly, even NBA fans do, because NBA fans sure know a lot more about college basketball because that's the players that will be playing for their team one day than vice versa. So I think everybody loves college basketball more than the NBA would never leave if all things were equal. It's just not equal though, Coop. You're 4 years away from signing a 5 year, $500 million contract. Like you're not staying, unfortunately.
He's not. Permission to use my body language, PhD?
Yeah.
He might stay.
He has a brother.
He has a brother who's reportedly going to Maine, I believe.
If Duke pays his brother $300 million to go to Duke, Coop stays.
So here's where I'm at. The money is the money. He should go. All signs point to him going. I totally agree. Number one picks always do this. There were clips of Zion Williamson doing this, like, oh, I really wanted to stay. The interesting thing is, I think most times you don't actually see any signs from the players themselves
Mm-hmm.
that they want to stay until long after. Like once they're in the suit, once they've been drafted by the Pelicans, then they're doing the Paul George podcast. Like, oh man, I really wanted to go back. There was never a moment where Zion was like looking up at the crowd with wonder. He was like, let me get out of here. I got strip clubs to attend and some some money to spend. So like look, I watched this. I watched the post game press conferences. They asked Khan about this. They asked Coop about this. One thing I will tell you right now, Khan is leaving. Khan is as gone as they can be. From his post game answers, that kid could not be more out of here. Cooper Flagg, I have this weird feeling he's serious about all this, and I don't know why. I really don't. I've been trying to pinpoint like what would it be about the way Cooper Flagg is wired that would make this a serious option. And I've landed on a couple things here I want to just pulse check with you and see how you feel. Um Cooper Flagg is dominant. We know that. He's also like pretty competitively great, which you could spin into like, well, he's going to want to go to the highest level as soon as possible and torture people, right? So I hear that. But when I watch Cooper Flagg, one of the biggest things about him is this dude's a psycho. Like he was up 30 on Wake Forest last night on his ass after an and one talking about they can't fuck with me, going crazy. Like I think he genuinely enjoys the whole competitive edge of being the guy at Duke and all of this. And I would just throw this out there. There's a world that Janai Broom just gets gifted the National Player of the Year, even though Cooper Flagg deserves it. There's a world that Auburn enters the NCAA tournament as the number one seed, even though Duke's been winning games by 50 and Duke deserves it. There's a world, I don't know what's going to happen in March, but I think Coop, as the competitor that he is looking around at this shit like, y'all still don't really effing believe me right now? You're talking about the 23-year-old who had 9 and 6. That's the National Player of the Year, and not me as I win by 40 and give you a triple double every game. Like, what do I have to do? And I don't know that not winning National Player of the Year would be enough to make him want to return. But I do think this dude is just wired in a sense of like, I'm going to show you before my job is done here. And he could show everyone by winning a national championship. And if he wins a national championship, he will leave. But there's a world where Duke doesn't win the title. He doesn't win National Player of the Year. He doesn't get the number one seed. All these things. And we just kind of look at this like, oh, the ACC stunk. Duke was ACC merchants. And Cooper Flagg's like, no, F that. I'm going to come back. We're going to play the hardest schedule in the country next year. We're going to go undefeated. We're going to run the table again. And I'm going to win all the awards I should have won this year. From just reading his reaction to the room and his family's reaction, my body language PhD tells me that this is a serious consideration.
I think it's seriously being considered. I also don't think he took econ first semester at Duke. And I think that's a large portion of this is he's just unaware of how much money he's passing up at the moment. And he's probably a second semester econ guy. Once they get into taxes and how to fill out your W-2s, all this will probably change. But no, so I think what I think seriously might be happening here because along with Coop teasing the idea of staying at Duke, the one other thing he's also done, he's been super teasing the idea of playing with Wemby on his Instagram. He likes a lot of posts about the idea of like when Wemby got hurt and everyone was like, oh, Wemby, like the Spurs might fall to number one now. He loved the idea of that. I think there's a world here, and this may end in him getting another year where Coop might be trying to force his way to San Antonio one day. Whether that's this year or next year, I don't know the answer to that. I think with the De'Aaron Fox acquisition, obviously next year feels very hard. It feels like the Spurs are like from this point on, as long as Wemby's healthy, the Spurs are going to be one of the best teams in the league. But I do think there's a world where Coop's like, I don't want to play in Washington. I don't want to play in Charlotte. And I don't really want to play in Portland. So let me try and force my way to one of the teams I want to play with. The best way to do that is to seriously dangle the idea of you staying.
Yeah, I agree. And look, he looks at the top of the mock draft simulators right now. It's Washington. Nobody wants to go to Washington. Respectfully to Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole, I think, is loving Washington, honestly. He probably has a couple cats and he's just enjoying it. But yeah, I don't know. I think this has more legs than people realize. Not a lot more. It's still a massive favorite that he's going to leave. But there's something about the way that went down last night that I watched playing this out that just felt like it had some real substance to it in a way that previous ones haven't. And the one thing I would add, we mentioned this in a previous video weeks ago. Coop likes the Cooper Flagg versus AJ DeBanza stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He likes it a lot. That's been a rivalry. He likes it. I've talked about how special that could be if these two were somehow paired up again on a platform before they get to the league. I don't know. I see a path where that plays a factor too. Like this dude's coming to be the face. I'm the face. MFer, let's do it one more time, you know?
Two things. The band's a family. If Coop stays to face you, just know that's the perfect time to get me involved. I will spin that so quickly into Coop being soft. It's crazy. Like you're gonna pass up $300 million to play my guy? That's how much we feed into your dream. We're not even concerned about you. We went on First Take and talked about how we want to go to the NBA. We're not even concerned about you. And you're staying an extra year to face us. We're not even concerned. I could spin that so quickly for them. It's crazy. Second thing, NCAA, this is a great idea. I'm willing to give it to you. I want freshman days. So I want a day where the freshmen have to decide in front of the home crowd if they're a one and done or if they're returning. And it's much like a senior day. We'll give you a little jersey plaque. You get to walk down and everything. I think it'll be special, especially for like the guys like Tahad Pettiford that probably would take a freshman day and then realize what their draft stock is and come right back to Auburn. It'll be great.
I like that. Do you remember what AJ DeBanza said when he committed on First Take?
I don't.
Who said I can't play Duke at BYU?
Yeah, but that was about Cam though. Don't worry, Demantis. I got us. That was about Cam. That was about Cam.
Who said I can't play Duke? AJ DeBanza's been asking for it. Cooper Flagg probably had a little popcorn watching that commitment, like, oh, you want Duke?
I mean,
Come
again,
get Duke.
rent free.